Hello and welcome to another episode of Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today is Sunday, November 30th, last day of November. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. November, that's right. So let's jump into it. Israel, the Holy Land. Oh, so many Christians like to go there and see the Holy Land where Jesus walked. Don't go there now, though. If you do, you're going to get spit upon and kicked by all the people there. They hate the Christians. In fact, the Christian population, which used to be sizable at one point, is down to nothing now. They have fled in droves. They're leaving that place because they're constantly being attacked. Don't go to Israel if you're not Jewish. All right, let's talk about Asian people in Russia. Asian people in Russia? Yes, Asian Russians. You think Russia, you think these blonde girls, from Moscow, but Moscow is 9 time zones away from the other side of the country, which is very Asian. There were Asian people there. You look at them, say, "Oh, you Chinese, you Korean," and I was watching a girl who was saying, "Yes, those are the kind of questions I get," and I say, "No, I am Russian. I am Ruski," and there are a lot of Asian groups there, a lot of ethnicities, people with different cultures, different languages. It amazes me how a country can have so many different languages, and Russia's one of them. They said over 20 different Russian ethnic Asians there with 20 different, group names, languages. It's like India has over 100 different languages. I live in a community where there's a lot of Indian people, and many of them don't speak the language that their neighbors speak, although they all share the Hindu religion in common. And interesting, they also share English, which is very popular all around the world. It says whenever you're the biggest power on earth, that language starts becoming international. So there are Asians, there are Chinese people. I shouldn't say Chinese, Asian people from Russia. All right, here's another story. Captain America. It should be filmed where? In America, you would think, but it wasn't. It was filmed overseas. And this person was talking about, well, what's with these companies? Everything's overseas. And, I can agree with that. They go there because things are cheaper, less restrictions. But I say, listen, if you want to go there, then you can't be an American company, or you got to pay some huge kind of fines, or I don't know what, because you decided you're not going to be in America. You're going to do your work outside, overseas. Pay a penalty for that. Jobs lost. They could have had jobs over here. No, they're going to get overseas. What do we have to do to get companies to be in state? This is the thing about companies. Every state has to beg you to come, has to offer you tax incentives. And I've heard the argument, well, yeah, sure, they don't pay taxes, but they create all these jobs, and you get taxes from the workers. The poor schmooze are the ones that end up, paying the money. So what? I was just listening to, what is it? A town in the county near me. I think it's my county, actually, Cabarrus County, that they're having financial shortfalls. And you got to worry about it, because we've got like a lot of warehouses. Amazon's got a big center here, and I see lots of other companies here. I said, why don't we have a source of income, a revenue, a big revenue stream? Got all these big companies. Well, because they get tax breaks. They don't pay any taxes. I mean, what's it going to be eventually to where we have to start paying them to come here? We really got to change the financial way we do things in this country. The Trump admin, it's saying that nurses are no longer considered professional. I don't get it. I don't know what the idea about is this, and what's the care? Who cares? What happens with this? If they're not professional, then they're not entitled to certain loan amounts. The government gives school loans, Pell Grants, different kinds of grants for up to a certain amount of money. And for professionals, it's a higher amount than non-professionals. Now, if they're non-professional, they're not going to be able to get that money that they need to get through the schooling, which is so expensive because we've got a capitalist system. Everything's for profit. But now these people, they won't be able to go to school. We'll have fewer doctors. We'll have fewer nurses. And what's the point? I don't get the point. Is it just so the government doesn't have to give out more loans? What's it to them? They get their billions. I still don't get it. Someone else suggested, well, if you're not a professional, then you're not a obligated reporter of sexual abuse. And we know these elites, they're doing nothing but sexual abuse left and right. The church in particular loves sexual abuse. Every time you turn around, you find another person, another priest involved in sexual abuse. Usually they're the ones that are always talking the loudest about, gays and family values, and they're the ones that are always doing it. So, anyway, nurses are no longer considered professionals. Some crazy things just happened in this. DoorDash girl, she's very popular. DoorDash girl, what happened? She was delivering her food, came to a door that was wide open, private house, and there's a guy passed out on the couch. Lights are on, and he's there with his pants pulled down. And so she's taking this. She posts it. She's a popular YouTube poster, and posts the pictures of him in his birthday suit, and saying, the nerve of some people, and so this becomes like all the rage and the big story. And so there's questions about, you know this guy, is he a pervert? He said, no, I just fell asleep. I was drinking, I was drunk, and I just fell asleep. And then people start picking on the girl, saying, why did she go into his house? All right, so she can see from the street, from the door where she's leaving the package, and going, oh my God, disgusting, and leave. But no, she doesn't leave. She goes and steps into the house so she can get really good photos and videos and post them. So she went into the house, which she shouldn't have done, and she posted these pictures, which she shouldn't have done. And so it's all the rage, and people saying how now she's the bad one. And last I heard, she's being threatened with like up to 8 years in jail, which I think is outrageous. I mean, even if all of what she did was, completely wrong, that's outrageous. But what I also uh, have to add to this is, I think it's fishy that a guy's laying there with his pants off, door wide open, after he just ordered a meal 15 minutes ago, and now he's all of a sudden passed out. I mean, yeah, it's possible, but I mean, I'm just as much willing to say that he's the one that did something wrong, as opposed to her being in the wrong. And this brings up another interesting topic. She sees him there, and what is that? That's the man is bad. He's exposing himself. Now, suppose the situation's the other way around, and the girl's on the couch, and the man sees her. Whoa, then he's peeping. And again, the man is bad. The man doesn't win any way you look at it. The man's always bad. All right, that's the flippy kind of situation we have with men and women, the differences. All right, in the town of Loving County, Texas. What's that? It's a small, almost nothing town, hardly anything there. But some outsider decides to come in and buy up a lot of land, and he's going to start offering free houses to anybody who comes to move there. What's this all about? What's this all about? Well, it turns out that it's very easy to become an elected official if you get enough people to vote for you. I mean, there's only 3 people in the town, and you find like 100 people that come by homes, and they all have to elect you. Say, yeah, I got you this home. I got you for almost nothing. All you people, you like me, right? Vote for me. And now he can start proposing rules and laws that he's in favor of, contribute to the Republican Congress. And so it was just interesting to think, I can take over a whole town, and I can start throwing my political weight around, because there's only 2 people there, and I've got enough money to make a town of my own. So that was that. This is another story. This is from Unleash Facts. These guys come up with all kinds of interesting things from historical times. And he was mentioning how 5,000 years ago, humans were lactose intolerant, past childhood. I mean, obviously, as a baby, you got to, get your mother's milk. But you grow up into childhood, and suddenly lactose intolerance, have that milk, puke, puke, you don't like it. But around 5,000 years ago, we developed a gene change that made us able to drink milk. And now we have milk all over the place. I was just thinking about all the beverages, liquids you could have in this world. How is milk in particular such an important thing? I mean, I have it with my coffee. I don't have coffee so much now. I have hot chocolate. I have tea, and I have it with my cereal. Milk, 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 milk. At any rate, so we got this other one, Hawk Podcasts. I like Hawk. He's got quite the head of hair. Trump posted on Truth Social how to get around judicial corruption, because he doesn't like those judges that rule against him. Some of them do. In fact, quite a few have ruled against him, although he still has the Supreme Court in his pocket, and 1 or 2 federal judges that still seem to always go along with him. But he's saying, the ones he doesn't like, how do you get around that kind of stuff? You have military tribunals. Although, how are you going to have a military tribunal for someone who isn't in the military? I don't know. But I mean, these are the lines he thinks so long, and I'll try to get some way to get them in there. All right, we got Secretary of War Hegseth, he's calling Senator Mark Kelly. He wants to call Senator Mark Kelly back to service so he can court-martial him because Mark Kelly, along with 6 other Democrats, posted a video telling the armed service members that they don't have to listen to illegal orders. In fact, they're obligated not to listen to illegal orders. And why would they even want to suggest such a thing? Because Trump's trying to get away with murder. In fact, he murdered people in the Caribbean, telling the Navy to blow up these ships that he just says are drug ships with no evidence whatsoever. And he's got the military in our cities now, the National Guard, where they're not allowed to be. You can't be in there without a governor asking for the National Guard to be there, and they're in there illegally. Anything they do is illegal. So, yeah, there's things to worry about there. And so, anyway, Hegseth wants to call Mark Kelly back to service so he can court martial him. I'm just thinking, listen, you can't call somebody back without some extreme justification. There are certain rules, but even if you call someone back, how can you court martial me for something that I wasn't in the military when this supposed crime happened, right? But that's the way these people think. Anything that looks like a possibility, they're going to do that. All right, Doge employees, they're starting to fear criminal charges because they were doing all kinds of criminal things when they started out, going into the Department of Treasury money funds and going into the Social Security Service, taking everybody's information without any records, without any knowledge of who they are. They made phony accounts that they deleted after they got out, and they're starting to worry about that, which they should. What else? We got this interesting story. Someone recorded an officer from the Campbell Soup Company talking about, I would never have any of that Campbell's food. These things are, this meat is printed on a printer. They just print this junk food. I wouldn't eat it. So now you got the F Department of whatever it is of food wanting to look into it. Well, hey, what exactly kind of ingredients is Campbell putting in there? But anyway, it was during a bar conversation, so maybe whatever he said, you have to take with a grain of salt. All right, so what else? The administration has allowed a new herbicide, pesticide, to be used, on the plants, on the vegetables we grow that have PFAS in them. PFAS. These are forever chemicals. They never go away. If you get something and it's hard to wash off, even you can eat lettuce, spinach, and there's going to be, forever poisons going into your system. And this is just the way the administration is going now with, the care for our, health. And we've already had issues with baby formula having botulism in them because we've got lax controls over the health of the foods in our country. That's the direction we went there. All right, in a town in Somersworth, New Hampshire, this town had a years-long public forum of flag raising on some holiday or other, where they had the state flag, and then they would help another flag. Anybody can put up a flag. You just fill out the form, say I'd like a flag on this day, that day, whatever. And of course, the persons who always like to make trouble, the Satanists, they want to have a Satanist flag. And they did get it because they said they could have it, but it was supposed to be for like a couple of weeks. And the town decided, no, that's only going to be a couple of days. And then they decide, you know what? Nobody can have, flags up there anymore because they just hate it because they're Christians. And anything that's satanic is, real. And you're inviting like frogs are going to come and locusts and hail of fire is going to come down if you have a Satanist flag out there. This one is from Caitlin Speaks Out, and she was talking about Guatemala in 1954. She's a student of Latin America and all the things that have gone on there, and reference to what Trump's doing now, threatening Venezuela, that he's going to attack them. And she was just saying how, this is not the first time. And you see a map behind her with all the different countries that the United States has invaded or overthrown or attempted to overthrow. And there's like 70 different little flags with dates about where the U.S. has gone in there. And she was talking particularly about Guatemala in 1954. A person who was elected president, legally, democratically elected, he decided, there's a lot of plantations, there's a lot of property here owned by foreign governments, foreign corporations, and they're not doing anything with them right now. They're just holding it for when they want to do something. So he said, look, you're not doing anything with it. We're taking it over. And who was holding that particular property? Chiquita. And so Chiquita, tugged on the president's coattails and said, do something about this. And they did. And they overthrew him. And he was out, and some terrorist guy took over, and the place went all to heck. Palestine Action. There was a group in England called Palestine Action, and they were determined to be a terrorist organization. And everybody's up in arms saying they're no terrorist organization. They do things like spray paint, signs or equipment, that's going to Israel, military bombs. They'll spray paint on the side, death, stop the genocide, things like that. And so someone in the government decided we're going to call them a terrorist organization. So now this is a big ongoing thing. You're getting protests left and right in England about you just say someone's a terrorist organization. And we're starting to do that here. If we don't like somebody or someone or some organization, we'll say you're a terrorist organization. Whether there's any indications they are or not, we're just going to say that. They've already been trying to say that about just Democrats alone. If you're a Democrat, you're a terrorist. And anyway, so this got brought to court, and apparently just bringing it to court is a difficult process. But there was a judge who gave his stamp of approval. It can go to court, and when the judge does something like that in these kind of cases, they participate in the ongoing, investigations. And what happened as the investigations were about to start, he was kicked out. And there was some replacement judges, and there were yes men replacement judges that everybody knows are just going to say, wrong. Palestine Action is a terrorist organization. And it was done with no conversation, no oversight, no presenting to the public. He was just out. And this is the second time something like this happened. This is the corruption in government. This is our democracy. This is no democracy. These are elites deciding we'll tell you how things are going to go, and like it or not, this is what's going to happen. So that's what's going on in Britain. And, we're getting a lot of stuff like that happening here right now. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, or in Britain's case, the tree doesn't grow far from the apple. All right. Bridget Brink for House position from Michigan. And I got an advertisement for her, let's, bring sanity back, put a Democrat back in. And I thought, fine, fine. I says, but all the statements, nothing about policy, not a single statement. So I had to go to her webpage, look it up. And she starts talking about Ukraine, we have to support Ukraine. And I thought, oh God, here we go. Another person who has no idea of what the Ukraine situation is really about. And so I had to decline to give her anything. But it just goes to say why these people that want your money, and all they do is say they're coming, they're trying to take over. They've got a lot of money against us. Vote for me. So why? Why? Because someone else is running against you? Nope, doesn't work. You got to give me a little more to go on. All right, the Missouri Attorney General, he informs ICE of possible human trafficking. Ooh, well, hey, all right, human trafficking, you got to do something about it. Except it's not human trafficking. It's volunteers who are working to get signatures for a referendum in Missouri. And the attorney general doesn't like these people, doesn't want that referendum. So he's going to tell ICE, I want you to check these people out because I think they're human trafficking. More of that same stuff. Like, just call me a terrorist and now I can throw you in jail. Now say you're human trafficking and now we can throw you in jail. These people who just make up these absurd statements and use that to get away with whatever they want. It's unbelievable. All right, in ICE, this is another story. We had this not too long ago when they closed down the center in Florida, how they had to move all these people, and so where did they go? Who were they? We don't know. What do you mean we don't know? 1,200 of them. There were 3,000, and 1,200 of them they couldn't account for. They don't know their names, where they went, what happened, and now the number's up to 4,200 of people that we don't know where they are, and it's turning out that a lot of them are dying. 22 people have died in ICE custody. This is such BS. How does this happen? And there's no oversight. I don't hear anybody in Congress, raising the alarm, giving any kind of speech. I hear people getting upset over Chuck Schumer, Chuckles, not is not standing firm against the Democrats in passing the continuing resolution. But nothing about people getting killed in ICE detention. Nothing about 4,200 people just disappeared. There was recently a girl. She was just taken. 17-year-old college girl came here when she was 9 years old. I guess she's not legal. 9 years old though. Nice student, behaving everything, going home for Turkey Day, and she gets picked up by ICE, and now she's in Honduras. The judge even said, found out she's been grabbed, and said, "Listen, you don't do anything with her. We have to have due process where we hear her story and such." Nope, bing, gone. She's in Honduras now. This is craziness. Again, there's no screaming about what's going on. There needs to be more screaming. I should call my representatives, although they're Republicans. I don't think I'm going to get very far with that here in North Carolina. The Georgia election interference case against Trump has been thrown out again. See, I said some judges are on Trump's side, and this judge threw it out. He says, "You know why? Because this is really more of a federal issue than a state's issue. Goodbye, Trump. Goodbye." So once again, Trump skates. He gets away with it. No more charges or threats of anything. Even though if there are any threats, he can just say, "I pardon myself," or "I'm immune." Anyway, but bad enough as that is, here's a judge just threw out that election interference case where Trump had called the Secretary of State Raffensperger, said, "Just find me 11,000 more votes. That's all I need is 11,000 more votes, or 1,100 something. Just make it up and say that there they were and that I won." So Senator Van Hollen, um, he was posting about Trump and his immigration policy, where we're getting rid of all the criminals in the United States. That's the whole idea with this immigration raids, even though 60, 70, 80% of the people that they get have no criminal records, or if they have a criminal records, it's for, speeding, or having, made a wrong turn on a right turn or something like that. So yeah, no criminals. But wait, worse than that, there was a case going through the courts involving President Bukele in El Salvador, where Trump was sending all of these immigrants to go to their CICOT horrible prison. There was a case going against Bukele, which I don't know how you have a case against somebody in a foreign country against the president, but the case was there. And what was it about? It was about his associations with MS-13, the crime gang. And Trump said, "Listen, take these people that I'm bringing you, and we'll just forget about the MS-13 case." How nice. And that's just, obviously he doesn't care about the criminal drug dealers. And on top of that, it was just released that a former president of Honduras is under was sent to prison for years on drugs and arms charges, and Trump just recently pardoned him. I don't even know why. He just decided, "Oh, look, there's a person, I think I'll pardon him." And so another drug dealer we're so concerned about, he just lets him go. All right, so Friendly Atheist, his website, Friendly Atheist, he was talking about Ventura, California, uh, kooky California. These people got together in Ventura, and they created something called Gothamus, a combination of Gothic plus Christmas. And they have this party. It's almost like Halloween meets Christmas, where everybody's got, ghoulish Santa and everything Gothic, style. Well, the religious leaders in that area are so upset. You can't besmirch Christmas with a Gothamus thing. Well, put a halt to this right away. Put a halt to it. They get, their sensitivities are so easily offended. All right, Hegseth, he was now in the news about his attacks on the Venezuelan boats and not just Venezuelan boats. There are other countries, Honduras or Trinidad, Tobago, where they would just blow them up and say they were drug ships, but they don't offer any proof that they were drug ships. And now it said that Hegseth had given directions to kill them all, that there was a strike on a boat, and the instructions would kill them all. So the captain of the ship found a couple of people hanging on to debris, and he said, "Launch another missile," so that the hanging on people, so that they can be blown up. So now there's a big thing going on. Hegseth, we want to take him to court. We want to charge him with war crimes. Except he's in the Trump administration, and he's the Secretary of Defense. Is anything going to happen to him? You got to really think No. But meanwhile, this is how offensive something can be, and still nothing happens. We'll see. He's denied it. He said, I never gave out such commands. And so we're going to have to trickle down the who said what to whom, when, where, what's the evidence, what's the proof, and we'll see how that goes. And, I don't care if he said kill them all or he didn't. The fact that he said go kill these, blow up these boats, that's bad enough as it is. All right, now we got Israeli settlers. I love that word, settlers. They're not settlers. They're gangs. They're killers. They go onto Palestinian land and they threaten the people with death. They start shooting bullets into the house. That's what they mean by threaten with death. Or they'll set fire to the house. The people have to leave, and then they'll take it over. And they've been so violent for so long. The military has just let them go. The military police, the armed police, they're happy to see it. They let them go. And anyway, what's happening is we're empowering them to be more and more confrontational and forceful. So what did they do recently? They decided to cross over into the Syria border, and they're thinking, we can set up a settlement over there. This is what we do. We set up settlements. So they went in there, and the Israeli government said, "Whoa, wait, whoa, whoa! You're getting out of control here." And I'm sure actually they would be happy with it, except they thought, this isn't going to look good, or I don't know what. At any rate, they sent the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, to go get them and say, no, no, come on back. And the settlers didn't want to hear it. They started fighting with them. There's gunshots going on, whatever. Well, the IDF was a little more powerful than the citizens, and eventually took them back. But this is what's happening in Israeli society. You got the settlers now, all carrying guns, all willing to shoot the authority of the state, the Israeli Defense Force. They're willing to get into gunfights with them. So things are bad over there. Well, anyway, so that's what's going on. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like, subscribe, and hit the notify bell. Should have said that at the beginning. I would insert that, but I don't know how to edit this thing so well yet. Actually, I'm just too lazy. I don't even want to try. So, anyway, you all hope you see me again sometime, and take care.